you think this has a happy ending, you haven't been paying attention.
Welcome back to the Throne of the Dragon podcast. Woo!
Huzzah! 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 Ah! Okay, it's over.
It's over. They're gone now.
They're gone. Okay.
This is the show that covers each and every episode of HBO's House of the Dragon, and in the off season, which we are, I don't necessarily want to say unfortunately back to, but the off season, which we are back to, we cover every chapter of Fire and Blood. I'm Josh of House Waynwood, and with me, as always, is my neighbor in the Vale, Curtis of House Tullett. Curtis, how are you?
I keep thinking you're gonna say like mine is like Garth Bane or something because you're saying Waynewood, and I'm thinking Wayne's World. So, yeah.
Curtis of House Garth.
What up? Hey, Wayne. If Wayne and Garth were in Westeros.
Well, I was going to say if the Tullets
Swing,
were
swing.
in, if the Tullets were in the Reach, they could possibly be descendants of Garth Greenhand.
Oh boy.
So you could be a Garth Tullet.
Ooh, better than a Sesame Street. Anyway, I'm good, man. Doing good. What's up with you?
Nothing, just
Nothing? Okay.
you know,
All right,
we're
until the next episode. No.
oh my God. We are let's see. This is the third week. Oh my God. Time is flying
Yeah,
by. This is the
yeah.
third week postseason. Or our third Sunday anyway.
Third Sunday without a new House of the Dragon episode.
Because we were off last week, and the week before that, we did our season 2 recap.
Yeah.
I feel like we talked about some differences and some similarities between book and show. During the portion of the book that the show covers so far in season 2, because season 1, obviously, I think there's a lot of pretty big things that are changed.
Yeah.
It's pretty minimal, I would say, so far, in my opinion. And we'll get into some of that stuff, but
Yeah, it just seems to be more of just kind of like swapping out characters here and there for different plot points, like in certain plot points. And it's like you're saying, it's like they're not major. Um, so yeah.
I did want to say before we get too far into this chapter, and I know you said a half, but it was most of the next chapter. Because the Battle of the Gullen stuff happens, towards the end of that chapter,
Spoiler alert.
which is beyond. Yeah, but we're back to spoiler territory, my friend. Obviously, we're not going to go into. That's kind of what I wanted to say was, might be asking yourself, you guys said you're not going into the rest of Fire and Blood right now while they're still putting out the last couple seasons of the show. Well, we're going to be covering Night of the Seven Kingdoms when that comes out. We're also going to be covering the 3 stories that make up Night of the Seven Kingdoms: the Hedge Knight, the Sworn Sword, and the Mystery Knight. And that's going to be the next thing we cover. But I haven't told you about this, but I also want to start putting together an episode on at least the first Blackfire Rebellion for right now. Because the
This
thing,
dude is
Curtis,
obsessed with the Blackfire Rebellion.
Curtis, the thing you got to understand about the first Blackfire Rebellion, okay, was that Aegon the Fourth, on his deathbed, legitimized all his bastards. Okay, that's what you got to know
Seems like
going
such
into
a
it.
simple thing, but it means
That's
so much.
a joke between you and I. We always start every deep conversation or big lore conversation with the thing you got to
Or everyday
understand
conversation.
about the first Blackfire Rebellion. So yeah, I wanted to put together a series on at least the first one there. I know that's going to be a lot of work, so
Okay.
it takes some time to get through those, but I at least want to start looking towards the first one.
Which
And
in
anything
a
else.
which in a way you and I have talked about it before. I don't know if it was on recording or off. Not that there's direct correlation with Night of the Seven Kingdoms, but it's you're getting towards that time period with the Blackfire Rebellions, in where we're going to be seeing HBO's Night of the Seven Kingdoms and everything. So, we're kind of the same wavelength there, So, huh?
Night of the Seven Kingdoms takes place
Before.
well, it's a few years in the first story, it's a few years after the first one.
Oh, is it after? I thought it was before. Okay.
And
Are you
then
sure?
yeah, it's the first or the second. I think it's the
Hmm,
first.
okay.
And then
Yeah, it'd have to be the
one
first if it was going to be any of them.
the one that didn't happen, uh
We just, kind of sweep that under the rug.
yeah, that one happens during the time frame that's covered. And then the others are all after. But
Nice.
I think that's right.
Oh, baby. Oh,
Oh
mama.
baby. About to get into this.
Yes. Yeah. Some
Yeah, and
good
then I was gonna
stuff.
say, any other big topics like that that would be a multi-part that anybody has any ideas for. So should make sure to leave any of those series that you'd like us to cover in the comments.
What is there a specific book that he's written that has covered kind of like what we do here within Fire and Blood of like looking at the Targaryen line? Is there a book that really kind of covers all the Blackfire
No,
rebellions? Okay.
no.
Wah, wah, wah.
Yeah. It's mostly bits and
This will be interesting.
pieces that you get from different places,
No, I don't like that.
Oh, yeah.
Okay. All right.
Yeah, God, a comprehensive book that was just all the
Ugh.
Blackfire rebellions.
I
Yeah,
just imagine.
that's
I just when I hear that from you, Josh, all I imagine is Stan on the computer in the
it's
camp,
Randy.
or I'm sorry, Randy in the camp on the computer. Ugh.
Yeah, I would have to take some time
It
off
was a
work
ghost. It was a ghost in here. Yeah, because
Yeah, I would say
I know how
hopefully at
much
some
you love
point
your
we'll get something
Blackfire
like
brilliance.
that, but I
Yeah,
don't know. I could see somebody else putting that together after the fact.
he's got too much on his
Um,
plate. He needs some help.
yeah, and there's, a few people who are kind of the lore keepers for him, like people on his team who keep track of all the, stuff that he's written
Yeah.
and the family lines and all that.
Well, I would hope he's not doing it by himself. That's way too much information. He'd probably kill himself because of an overload.
For one older gentleman, that would be a
Oh
lot.
my,
That'd be a
oh
lot to handle.
man, my God.
Okay, you want to get into these couple chapters here, A Sun for a Son and the Red Dragon and the Gold?
Sure, but before we do, I've got a question for you, Josh.
Okay.
I want to talk about old Lyman Beesbury here real quick. Okay. He's
Okay.
dead. We all
Hmm.
know that. The show tells us that. The book tells us that. Yes. Now, differences in the show, Kristen Cole smashes his head into his little ball thingy.
Hmm. Hmm. Hmm.
Um, equivalent to the talking stick is what I always think of it as. Uh, in the book, though, they would they kill him and then they throw him out, or they kill him by throwing him out. I can't remember exactly the event,
Yeah,
the
I don't remember
series event.
either.
Anyway, we know he got tossed out and he's down below and he's dead. Did they leave him there or did anybody go pick him up?
I mean, somebody's got to go pick him up, right? Because this
Or
is
do you
while
or
they're trying to cover all this
right?
stuff
That's
up.
what I'm thinking. It's like, okay, I mean, isn't it a place where nobody can really see him? Of course, I guess after a while you would see the birds gathering, you know. Because that's the
Yeah,
other thing too, is like, do you just leave them to the birds to clean up for you?
no, I bet that would take a while. I bet
Yeah.
they sent somebody out for the body.
Yeah. And that was my other thing too. I was like, I can't remember if they ever said that they went and like send somebody out to pick him up. Because I thought of it when we were reading about, I think it was in a son for a son. It talks about his family um writing to them saying, "Yo, we want our grandsire, we want our grandsire out of the dungeons." It's like, he dead, bro. He dead. You can have him. No,
Yeah,
no, he died. Why the hell is he all disfigured like that? I don't know.
must have happened on the trip back.
Must have been on the trip back. I don't know. Yeah. Anyway, I just kind of want to see what you thought. A little hypothetical there.
Yeah, I mean, I imagine they, or
I
maybe
have
they
random
didn't,
thoughts.
but
You would think
yeah,
that they would, like, because I'm with you too. It's like you'd think they would just like to cover their tracks, but I mean, I think, well, no, I guess they were talking about Viserys leaving him there for days. And it was like, okay, it's starting to smell in here.
right,
What's
yeah,
wrong with the king? Nothing. Nothing's wrong.
everything's fine.
Everything's fine.
Spray some
Don't look
Febreze.
behind the curtain. Yeah, there you go. Throw the can at him.
Um, I wanted to bring up two things
Mhm.
that one of them, big change that I feel like worked for the purposes of the show. One
Mhm.
of them, a pretty big change that I feel like didn't really serve, whoa, didn't really serve more of, I don't know, it just didn't do more for the story to make this change.
Okay.
Um,
Let's hear him, Josh.
so the first
Let's
one
discuss him.
is Damon's time at Harrenhal. You
Okay.
know, so first of all, Damon goes to Harrenhal right at the start of this,
Right.
before Jacaerys and Lucerys make their runs out. He's already there. He's already captured it. It's done. He's also got uh, the wealth of House Strong. In the show, it's all been sent away.
Yep.
Laris has kind of thought this through and pulled their coin out of there. But everything really goes Damon's way from the get-go.
Yep.
And because they've created Show Damon to be more of a, they played him as wanting to be the king until
Yeah.
he had this big change towards the end of season two. He doesn't really have that, or at least that we know of in Fire and Blood.
Well,
He,
they even say that he has nothing to do, like he has no crossing with Alice Rivers. I mean, she's there,
well,
but it's like he has
she
like, it was
has
like, He
Well,
has
she
no hold
has
over
no
me.
effect on him.
Yeah,
Yeah, she
so
has zero effect on him.
so it's like, oh, okay, well that's different.
Well, for the show's purposes, they needed to do all
Right.
that stuff to bring him
Yeah.
around to be this
Yeah.
guy. You know,
I'm
it
affected by no
doesn't.
demons here.
Yeah, it's not a good story arc for Damon if he just goes there and it works out,
Right.
and then yeah, I don't know. It's just it's not good storytelling. It's not a good drama. We got to remember
Yeah,
that Fire and Blood is a
for sure.
history and just a
Yes.
recounting of facts.
Mhm.
Um,
The book is good the way it is, and the or the show did it good for the most part, the way that they did it.
right.
So they both work.
Um,
But
and
the other
then the
thing too is
other,
like, wouldn't it stay on Damon real quick? Wouldn't it like he had no problems like getting everybody there too, right? Like getting
yeah,
support, and they're all just like, "Hey, we're here." Oh, okay,
yeah.
sweet.
So when he puts out the call, all the small folk at first, like they're the ones who show up.
Yeah.
And then slowly the Lords of the Trident start
Mhm.
turning up too.
Yep.
And the only outliers there are the Brackens, who
Mhm.
side with the Greens.
Right.
But after their back and forth with the Blackwoods, they find out that Stonehenge has been sacked while they've been away this whole
Yep.
time. So, yeah, they eventually just give in. And that's, the last of the holdouts in the Riverlands.
Right.
I mean, there's the whole thing with the Tullys where, um,
Grover.
yeah, well, the old man, the Lord,
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah.
Oscar.
Yeah. Is it Oscar? No, Oscar. I thought Oscar was the grandson.
There's Oscar, Elmo, Grover, and Kermit.
Yeah, I thought
And
Grover was the. I don't know.
look that up
Can't
for me real
remember.
quick.
It's been 3 weeks.
But where their lord wanted to side with the Greens, because they'd already sided with Viserys during the Great Council. And so I think there's this pattern of a lot of those older lords who were at the Great Council, who they sided with, either Rhaenys or Viserys in the show. Because in the book it's Laenor and Viserys. We see that be kind of who they go back to, and based on that precedent.
I was
Uh,
right and you were wrong.
okay, so who
Lord
we got?
Grover Tully is the grandsire, and Oscar is the grandson that deals with
Okay,
Damon.
okay.
Doesn't say what
S-
his dad's name is though. I wonder.
It's Elmo, right?
Well, that's what I was trying to remember if Elmo was before. I can't remember. Yeah,
But
I'll look it up. I'll
his
keep looking.
his dad is alive in the book. In the show, his dad's dead. So it's just
Oh,
Grover,
okay.
or just Oscar.
Oh, okay. It's yeah, okay. Oscar Tully was Lord Grover's. It's in the book. Lord Grover Tully's great grandson, not grandson. So he's the great grandson in the book.
Holy shit.
The second son of Elmo and younger brother of Kermit. Stupid Sesame Street. Uh, anyway,
Um,
mystery solved.
but yeah, even they pretty quickly put their support behind Rhaenyra and Daemon. So,
Right.
and I mean, it's really just Rhaenyra. That's the big difference here between book and show in this instance is that Damon he's not pushing for the throne,
Mm,
you know?
nope. He
I'm
knows his
sure if
place.
Rhaenyra fell, he would take it, you know?
Right.
But yeah, he's sworn his oaths here, you know?
Hmm.
He was very loyal to Viserys, you know, we talked about that several episodes ago. When we talked about, I believe that was the Grey Council episode, you know? Um, Whenever people started talking about who's gonna take the throne after Jaehaerys died, um, Damon had already put together a bunch of guys that were loyal to him, you know.
Right.
Um, not just normal guys, but I'm sure lords and stuff that were ready to back him also, like there were lords ready to back Rhaenys.
Hmm.
So, um, but yeah, all of this to say that doesn't make it doesn't make for very exciting TV. If Damon flies in, everything's golden, everybody's on his side, and then now what for him? You
Right.
know?
We don't see him for the rest of the season.
Right, yeah, he's just, "Well,
All
I'll be
right.
here, guys."
I'll be here.
But that also
Collect
would have
my
been
paycheck.
weird
Thank you.
to throw all that in at the end of season one, right before
Yeah.
all the stuff with um Lucerys happens.
Mm, yeah. I
So
agree. I agree.
the other thing, comes later on in the second chapter here. It's the show built up all this stuff between Aegon and Aemon. Like there
Mm,
was this resentment, that Aemon had for him, and you don't really get any of that in the book.
nope.
Um, Aegon hails him as a hero when he comes home from killing Luke. They go out together to attack Rhaenys at Rook's Rest.
Hmm.
Aemon, takes up the crown after Aegon falls, but he doesn't take the title of king. He only
Only
takes the title
protector.
of protector of the realm
Yep.
and only Prince Regent, so
Yeah. You
yeah,
need
there's
in those shows it's character development of you need the struggle, you know. You need
for
something to kind of
sure.
battle against.
I mean, for me, it almost seems like enough that Aemon is always dealing with the fact that he and Damon are so much alike.
Right.
Or I guess like I, I'm sure he sees it, but I guess probably Damon sees it more than he does, just with
Yeah.
hindsight.
Yeah.
Um but yeah, I don't know. I didn't really care for that as much because I like them more as a united front. They're more formidable that way, you know?
Yeah.
Um, and yeah, how the show kind of played them at each other, kind of back and forth. I don't know. I didn't care for that as much. Plus, the show plays up Aemon to be so much more damaged than he is in the books, I feel like, you know?
Yeah. Well, even like Aegon's character in the book versus the show gives it more of like he's like in the show we talked about the wisdom aspect. It's like he doesn't have that. He was just thrown into the role of king. He had no real upbringing towards that goal of being a king and a leader. And so a lot of decisions that he makes in the show early on in the season, are kind of like, you really probably shouldn't be doing that, or well, that really wasn't a good decision, you know. And whereas in the
The
book,
pranks he pulls.
yeah, oh my God. Whereas in the book, it's more he's very bloodthirsty and I want to attack them before they attack us. We got to go. We got to go. We got to go. It may not be sound judgment at times, but at least he's not. I don't want to call a show Aegon stupid, but he's not as dumb as show Aegon. You know, he's not as comical relief as show Aegon.
Yeah. Although I did like is that Tom Haddleston?
Not Hiddleston.
I don't remember. I can't remember the actor's name. Um, but I really did like what he did with Aegon,
Hmm.
because it took a really sad story there, his part of
Yeah,
it, and gave it at least a little bit of, like you were saying, comic relief in the beginning.
right.
Even later on, when he's just like, "Did you know
No,
my
here we go.
sausage exploded?"
And it's exploded like a hot sausage link. Great, thanks. Now I'll never be able to eat sauces again.
Thanks, bud.
Thanks, bud. You're such a downer. Yeah. I always the one quote that really sticks out the most in this well, in these two chapters was when Otto's doing all of his letter writing to try to gain support. And Aegon's just he's done with it, man. And he talks about I don't remember what he said at the beginning, but the last line of the quote always got me was uh spill blood, not ink.
Yeah,
And it's like I'm like we're done with this. And that's I think the next part was when it took the hand chain from him and threw it upon Kristen Cole.
my new
Yeah.
hand will be a steel
Steel's
fist.
fist.
Um,
Ugh.
since you brought up that part, let's skip ahead a little bit.
Oh,
Um, okay, so when Kristen Cole says that they're gonna set out
show her in the
for
book.
show,
Okay.
for Rosby and Stokeworth.
Mhm.
He's like, I'm gonna take men that I trust, like guys that I trained, blah blah. He makes it sound like they have this tiny little force going out. I mean, that's gotta be a small number of people.
Right.
Um, and then I mean, you see the army leaving King's Landing, and they show you
It's a
a little
decent.
bit of it, so it
Yeah.
looks fair. In the book, it is like 2,400-ish men.
Mhm.
So that makes a lot more sense to me book wise, how this happens, because in the show, when he says that, I'm like, Rosby and Stokeworth, where they have like 10 guys put together? Like, how is he possibly gonna, those people have castles. How is he gonna siege them with like 500 men?
Well, but at that point too in the show, don't you think that he already had a plan of marching towards Rook's Rest?
Yeah, I mean, well, that was the plan to add. I mean, he lays that out that they're
Right.
gonna go to Rosby and Stokeworth, add their numbers to their own, and then
Yeah.
march on Rook's Rest.
Right.
Um, but yeah, the show kind of portrays it as like, oh, he's going out there with like 100 dudes,
Right.
you know, and just like, no, sheer force of will. Kristen Cole does it. It's like, no, he has like,
One dude, he's gonna face them 1 on 1,000.
oh God. He's
Yeah.
got
I get that
2,400 men with him.
get that reference in season one. Now I got it in on season two, sort of.
You got it in on season one?
Yeah, I think it was the episode where Damon is in the stepstones and it looks like he's kind of like sacrificing himself. It's when they defeat the crab feeder and he goes over there with the white flag and I said something about yeah, he's going in there facing him 1 on 1,000. And you were like, nice. And I was
Uh,
like, yeah. But yeah, if you get the reference, you're a cool dude.
History of the Course podcast.
Exactly.
Um, sorry, I was looking something up.
Oh no, you're good, sir. You are good. My good man. You are good.
Let's talk a little bit about Jace's or not yeah, Jace's trip because Lucerys's trip to Storm's End is pretty much the same as in the show.
Hmm.
Which that's another thing, so show that was season one, kind of where it falls into the timeline for season two, that's where it is in the book. So, happens a little bit later.
Right.
Um, so Jace has Jace has a pretty easy time of it, I feel like. I mean, he
Yeah,
does have to convince a couple pretty tough lords, to take their side.
for sure.
But, he makes um he immediately gets the support of um three daughters, Sisterton.
Hmm.
Goes to White Harbor, gets the support of the Manderleys or the Marriage Pact. Joffrey to one of the Manderley girls.
Hmm.
Which, do you know anything about the Manderleys at all?
No.
Okay, so we see them in Game of Thrones.
Okay.
Um, they are um, so in the show, trying to think if you see some of them in Rob's army, but later on, one of them is at the second King of the North scene.
That
Um,
king of the no.
yeah,
God, that
King
guy is
of
so
the
annoying.
North.
Yeah.
No,
No.
no. I'll have
Ah.
peace on those terms.
Oh,
God.
man.
Um,
That dude was so over the top.
what's your favorite King of the North scene? The first one or the second one?
Ah, dude, it's been so long ago. I couldn't even remember which one went which.
Oh man. First one was Rob, and that's the one you're talking about where all his lords hail him King of the North.
Right.
That's a pretty good scene because God, the lady who plays Catelyn, she really does some good acting in that scene because you can see her behind a couple people as it's starting to happen. And then as everybody's really on board with it, this look in her eyes that is just like, it's the same as Ned whenever he's watching Arya train with Syrio Forel the first
Mm,
time and it slowly fades in this, Ned's like he's watching her, he's enjoying it, and then slowly the joy turns sour,
yeah, because you
as the
know what it
fade
means.
in of swords clanging and people screaming, armies coming together. Um, yeah, so just
PTSD.
I thought that was very similar, and I hadn't ever really put those two scenes together before until now, but
Okay.
yeah, both of them seeing what's to come, the horrors of war and what their children are signing up for right now. Also, and the second King of the North scene was for Jon Snow
Okay.
after the Battle of the Bastards,
Okay.
when Lyanna Mormont gives that speech about how all the lords who are there, all of them turn their backs on the Starks, but the Mormonts don't forget their vows.
Yeah.
So she calls out like every one of those lords who's like, you know, 5 times, 6 times her age. And then yeah, that's when she tells them that John's the only king that she's gonna swear to.
Okay.
And then they
Yeah,
have a
probably
whole nother big king in the north.
probably when they do it for Rob, just because of to get that guy. Okay, oh no.
Even
Ugh.
their gods are wrong.
Oh man. Just picture like that over the top Scottish guy that you know. That's him.
What do they know of the wolf's wood or the wall?
Oh man. Now, where the hell were we before we got into all this? Oh, the okay. Uh Jace's okay. The other thing too, before we move on with Jace's adventures here, is it Jace or is it okay? No, I'm sorry. Is it Jacaerys or is it
Yes.
Jacaerys? Because my audiobook guy keeps saying Jacaerys,
I,
and I don't know if
I've
it's just like an
always
accent problem or what.
said Jacaerys.
Well, and that's what they say in the show too.
Yeah,
I'm
so I'm gonna go with
like,
that.
okay, okay. Anyway, side note. But anyway, three sisters.
I mean, you got to assume that the guys reading audiobooks don't know a lot of, I'm sure they're given a lot of pronunciations and stuff, but then also sometimes they just kind of go their own way with it.
Yeah,
And you can tell a lot
still,
of times when they're reading stuff that they don't get like exactly what they're saying.
yeah.
Like I've noticed, anytime they say the bloody gate, they say it more like not like it's the name of the gate, the bloody gate. Like they say it
It's the
like
bloody gate.
it's my bloody gate,
Yeah, yeah.
So yeah, I get the feeling a lot of times they don't always know what they're talking about.
Still my favorite line from the audiobook of Fire and Blood. That's where they keeps the breads. Just the way he says
That's
it.
where they keeps the breads.
Oh my God. Love it.
Yeah. Or
Anyway.
like some great golden wirrum.
No, yeah, the Wira. I keep wanting to say verm. So I always say it's a
Wirrum.
it's a golden verm. Was Sunfire crawled around like a giant worm. Yeah, he just said.
Yeah. Yeah, and then okay, so oh yeah, we're talking about the
Just
Manderleys a little
theirs. Yeah.
bit.
Mhm.
I was just gonna say they have some kind of cool things in the books. It's mentioned that one of Wyman, I believe's daughters has webbed
Oh,
hands, and um there's like all this lore with them and the deep ones who are like mer people essentially. And it's like, it's like krakens in their world.
yeah.
It's like, yeah, that would be like a myth in our world, but they like exist there.
Oh
So,
no. Mermaids are real, Josh.
okay. Um, well, yeah, so there's just a bunch of cool stuff with them. Plus,
Yeah.
he has a really cool plot in A Song of Ice and Fire
Okay.
where they are secret, like, Stark loyalists.
Ooh.
And so after Roose Bolton takes over the North, them and some other people are all
Kind of
kind of
infiltrating.
in sync.
Okay.
Um, he's
Nice.
inside Winterfell. Mance Raider's inside Winterfell. There's a lot going on inside Winterfell. But
Yeah.
okay, we're gonna get too far off. Um,
No, we're way far off, buddy.
and
It's
then of
too late.
course the Pact of Ice and Fire, which is where Jace secured their alliance with the North. I believe it was Jace's future daughter for
Yes.
Regan's newborn son.
Mhm.
So the time frame would work out pretty well because it would be pretty much expected of Jace that after the war was over, they would have to immediately start popping out kids. You gotta
Right.
because you gotta shore up that line of succession.
Hmm.
So
Yep.
just kind of how things are done. As quick
Hmm.
as peacetime comes, it's like, yeah, let's start busting out the
Let's make a
kids.
baby.
And then Sarah Snow. Curtis, what credence do you give to the Sarah Snow and Vermax's clutch of eggs in Winterfell?
Do what?
Do
What do
what?
you mean? What do you mean?
What what do you think about the Sarah Snow stuff and the rumors of Vermax laying a clutch of eggs at Winterfell?
Well, I mean, I can't remember if the clutch eggs also came from mushroom, but I mean, come on. You've said it yourself, Josh. Can we really trust mushroom?
No.
Yeah, I was supposed to say, if you're talking more along the lines of Jace's relationship with Sarah Snow, I mean, come on. Come on.
Right. And
Come
it's
on.
not confirmed that the girl ever existed, but
Right, yeah.
sometimes people tend to go down, those paths and
For
want to
sure, yeah.
believe those stories.
I don't
But
believe it.
I feel like a lot of these probably come down as songs rather than stories.
Yeah.
And we see in A Song of Ice and Fire that, yeah, singers take these stories that happen and
Hmm.
they bend them to fit a better song.
Well, we get that with when we talk about the Cargyle twins in the book. There's some discussion on what exactly went down, how it went down. And there's even a point where the book talks about, you know, the same thing kind of you're talking about is sometimes the writers of songs kind of make it, kind of make it sound a little bit different, a little more flowery or something to fit a little bit different narrative or whatever. So, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, that was weird.
Yes.
Yes. Yes, I concur. Indubitably. Two gents sitting around a roaring fire, hosting a podcast with pipes. Yes, indubitably. House of Dragon.
Indubitably. Um, I do think it's kind of important the difference in how they did things for the actual Sun for a Sun event. Um, because the show portrays Helena as being kind of how she's always been. She was pretty shaken after um Jaehaerys's death, but the book has her like way more messed up because she has to choose between Maelor and
Ah,
Jaehaerys,
yes.
you
Yeah.
know? Um, so I think I don't know. In the book, okay, no, let me say this differently. In the show, she's a vessel for prophecy stuff.
Yes.
And so I think that's important to keep her relatively here in this, for the purposes of that in the show. In the book, she doesn't have any of that.
Well,
So it serves the story more for her to be completely broken by this.
yes. Yeah. Isn't it in the is it which did she ever ride Dreamfire in the show?
Okay, no, but I'm pretty sure whenever they are leaving Dragonstone, In season 1, after Aemon claims Vhagar,
Yeah.
that flying away from Dragonstone, I believe it is Sunfire, Vhagar, and
Dreamfire.
Dreamfire.
Okay. Hmm.
And in the books, she does like to fly.
Right. That's what I was gonna say is like even at that, I mean, there's more difference there, you know.
Right.
But I just couldn't remember if because I thought that was one thing we talked about was like she's more into like the whole insects and the weird stuff.
Yeah.
Because they're all like, ew, she's weird.
And then
It's
Alicent,
it's your duty to marry her.
it's more fuel for Alicent to be more messed up,
Right.
than she is because
Yes.
she's in the room when this
Right.
happens. It's
Yeah.
not just after the fact finding out that this happened.
She's not in the other room banging a banging.
Yeah. Um, what do you, what do you think about the show did this differently? Well, part of it's the same, part of it's different. For Aegon, in the book, he changes his in the book and in the show, he changes his banner to be a gold dragon on a green field,
Right.
for Sunfire and for the High Towers. For Rhaenyra in the book, she changes her colors to be blue for the Aarons.
Oh,
Um,
guess
what
I
was
missed
it?
that part.
Yeah, and then I don't. It was blue for the Aarons, something for the Valarians, and then the Black Dragon. But in the show, it's just the Black Dragon on red, or I'm sorry, the Red Dragon on
Red on
black.
black. Red on black is better.
Yeah. Well,
I think. Let me
I'm
look it
more of a
up here.
black on red man myself, but
Mm, yeah, I want to see if there's like a description or like a showing of her banner here. Wow,
while
thanks. You are no help, Google.
while you're looking at that, I wanted to talk about Otto Hightower's letters in the book. So in the show, we don't really see that bearing much fruit. It seems like too little, too late on a lot of Otto's letters that are going around.
Yeah.
But in the book, it does seem to be rallying some support for them. But they're kind of met with, I guess, derision at every turn. So, in the book, Otto's the one who reaches out to the Triarchy. The whole, it's not Jason, Tylan. The whole Tylan Lannister going to, um, Kingdom of the Three Daughters, like that's none of that happens in the book. It's
Right.
all Otto's letters.
Hmm.
And down the road here, that's going to come, in their favor. But from the beginning here, if you take everything into account that's going on, the show portrays the Greens as having, it seems like a large advantage, even Vhagar withstanding, not even
Right.
taking Vhagar into account. They seem like they have the advantage. But if you look at everything, the Greens are on the ropes like this whole time, you know?
Yeah.
Um they can't, it says that they consider the Reach to be, where their strongest support is. But the High Towers are the only ones there that are really, like the only major house that are actually supporting the Greens, because the Tyrells have decided they're just going to bow out of this. They're not going to get
Right.
involved.
No.
And then you've got all these other houses popping up that are declaring for Rhaenyra. The Allens, Alan Tarley and Alan, I think it's Alan Beesbury, Alan
Yeah, I
Beesbury and
think so. Yeah.
Alan Tarley. Um,
We want our grandsire.
they've got less men, but this would be my mindset. Like, even if you're a part of these houses that have smaller armies, you can harass the bigger armies.
Right. Yeah.
You do what they did. You hit their baggage train in the back, you hit their
Yep.
supply line.
Hmm.
You could poison wells ahead of them. Like
Right.
there's a lot that you can do to cripple a larger force before
Right.
you actually get to the battlefield.
Right. Yep.
Um, and they're coming through their lands, so they know their lands better than the high towers are going to.
Hmm.
Um, I did love this, how they keep bringing it up in the book and the show, but we've reached out to the Greyjoys. We keep reaching out to the Greyjoys. Why
Come
won't they
on.
answer us? Why won't they get involved here?
Yeah. What's up with that, Josh?
What is up with that, Curtis? What's going
Oh, I don't
on?
know. That's what I was asking you. I really don't know.
You're a smart guy, Curtis. Piece this together. Why aren't the Greyjoys responding?
Because they're dumb.
No, I don't think I
Are
would
they
call
smart?
Dalton the red cracking Greyjoy dumb.
They're smart.
They're holding out, Curtis, because
Okay.
as soon as each side gets a little more depleted and some more ships are lost in this
Uh,
fight, Dalton the red cracking Greyjoy is going to go back to the old ways of reaving that were
no.
outlawed by Aegon the Conqueror.
Oh no.
And he's going to start hitting the Westerlands pretty hard.
Okay. Okay. Spoiler
Yeah,
alert.
he's been holding out this whole time just to swoop in when everybody's pretty weak from
Time
this
is right.
conflict.
Okay. Hmm. Yeah, because I was wondering, like, the show, because we talked about in the first episode of season two. It's like, oh, watch out for that, because they made mention of him. Thinking, okay, he'll probably come in later on, but
Right.
then he never did, and you kind of like, okay, what is going on with the Greyjoys? What up with that? Okay.
Think about, and this is their model kind of going forward. But think about the War of the Five Kings in A Song of Ice and Fire. Rob takes the full strength of the North, goes south, and
Mhm.
what do the Greyjoys do?
Swoop on
They
in.
swoop in, and they wouldn't have known as quickly that, Rob had taken all their strength south if Theon hadn't told him. But
True.
eventually, that would have gotten back to the Iron Islands, and
Yeah.
they would have moved in because that's just kind of, that's their model, that's their MO.
Right. Well, you would think though, from that standpoint, they would have left some people because they probably would have had thought of like history past, you know,
Right.
like you would have learned from your lesson by now.
Yeah.
Interesting.
The prank on Dragonstone goes pretty much how it does in the show. It just doesn't happen in Rhaenyra's bedchamber. They just come
Why are you
face to
calling it the prank?
the prank because that's what Otto
Yeah.
calls it.
Oh, okay. Huh.
Yeah, remember?
No, I don't remember him saying that.
What? That's like
That's
one of his
funny.
best lines in this season.
Okay.
It's when he's in the room with Aegon and Kristen Cole, and that's at the end of the scene,
So when he loses
he's
his hand.
yeah,
Okay.
um,
Not his literal hand, but yeah.
yeah, loses little hand
Yeah.
thing.
Yeah. Yeah. Not my mini hand.
He says that you've uh something about you went behind my back without consulting, or without consulting me or the council, and you I can't remember exactly the way he says it, but he calls it a prank. He was like, for this prank, like that's like how little he thinks of it, you know.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay.
Um, but I do like the way they did it in the show. That was good.
Yeah.
You know, with them, somebody, I think it was the Kingsguard who saw him going in, you know, or who like changed positions with him or whatever. He probably saw Eric just like a minute later, you know, and was like, "Whoa, hey, what?" You know, because that's why he comes charging in. And I do love the him busting in and the brother.
Brother.
Yeah, so good. But I also like it in the book too, how they just meet, you know, how they come face to
Yeah.
face with each other in the castle, and it's just like, oh God.
Oops.
Like how
Yeah.
weird would that be?
So when you just act like you're a mirror.
Yeah, is this a mirror?
You're
But I feel like
dreaming.
all of that was done pretty much the same.
Yeah.
Rook's Rest happens pretty much the same, only it's not going to change Kristen Cole like it does in the show. Yeah, for some
Emo
reason,
Cole.
yeah, for some reason, I still, bro, I still can't get my head around this. Like, yeah, it was a brutal fight, and he's never experienced dragon warfare. None of these guys have. Um, but still, I don't buy it from like how
Yeah,
ridiculously
but it's
over the
still
top he is before.
right. He probably could have toned it down a little. But again, I think it's character development for
For
him
sure, for
instead of
sure.
just staying.
Yeah, staying on the same course the whole time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We need some emo. We had, like I said, we had Crazy Eye Cole. Yeah. Yeah.
It
We
does feel
had
like they're taking the two most hated people from both sides, Damon and Kristen Cole, and trying to make them more redeemable.
yeah. Yeah, I agree.
Uh, yeah, biggest difference there is that, you know, at Rook's
Eamon didn't
Rest,
attack.
yeah, is that Aemon and Aegon were in it together,
Yeah.
and the show portrays it more that Aemon, you know, was
Took
trying
a
to hurt
shot.
Aegon,
Yeah.
and that Aegon was never supposed to
Oh,
be there in
thank
the
the
first
gods.
place. But
Yeah. Oh man. Poor Aegon.
yeah, like we said, the High Towers, you know, they've run into this problem with the Allens and the Reach, and then also gathering a host like even bigger than the High Towers is the
Hmm.
Rowans, and
Hmm.
they're also about to head towards the High Towers.
Hmm.
So the High Tower army is not in a good spot right now.
Oops. Well, it's sad when Ormond's like, send us your dragons, please.
Yeah.
Help
Somebody help!
us. Somebody help, please. Yeah, it's bad.
My prince!
Oh man. Yeah, even
Um,
but even like the difference between Corlys in the book and the show after Rhaenys death, he just flat out blames Rhaenyra for it. Should have been you. They called upon you.
right, and he's not even her hand at that
Yeah,
point.
that's true. Yeah, that's true.
Because you know, one of the things that kind of helps mend that back over is Jace makes him the hand.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah, and then
Because
him and well, and then the other thing too is like it ends up being him and Jace that come up with the idea. Well, and then Mushroom kind of gives them the idea too of the sewing, the red sewing, and finding the dragon seeds.
yeah,
You know.
yeah, and you know, show went the other way with that. They portray Rhaenyra as, you know, in desperation, trying to find some way for them to come out on top.
Yeah.
And then Jace is the
He's a
one
get
who's, yeah, against it because he sees them as so much lower than him, you
right.
know?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, Jace really takes the reins in the book. Rainier is so broken up over everything that's happened. Um, One of the first things Jace does is he's gonna fulfill his promise to Lady Jane
Mhm.
and the Veil. He's gonna send Joffrey with
Not Bela.
no, with Rhaena,
Oh,
and
okay.
I can't remember Joffrey's dragon's name.
Um, is it Storm Cloud?
Is it
No.
Stormcloud? I thought that
Oh, I
was Aegon
forget.
the Younger's.
I forget. I forget. I forget. Free Targaryen Dragon. Oh man. Oh God, what a terrible
Arax
depiction.
Vermax. Tyraxes?
Mhm. Why can't you just put that in the description? I mean, can you just do that?
Is it
I don't know. I'll,
Tyraxes?
I'll find it here in a second.
Um, yeah, so Joffrey and Rayla are gonna go to the Vale, and then they haven't done it just yet, but the show has them going with all together with Aegon the Younger and Viserys to the Vale, but Aegon and Viserys are going to be going to Pentos alone. Aegon with Stormcloud and Viserys with his egg. And yeah, it's kind of the beginning of the Battle of the Gullet. They get picked up, and Aegon the Younger is able to escape. Stormcloud is horribly wounded and dies shortly after. And Viserys is taken prisoner.
Pyraxes.
Araxes, woo! 4-1 for
Um,
me.
so go back real quick to the banner discussion.
Okay.
I've got a picture here. It's shields. One of them is Aegon the Second's. This has now. I'm okay. Now that I say this, I don't know. This one for Aegon the Second has a black background with a gold dragon. Um, and then it has for Rhaenyra, it's a shield still, but it has four squares in it. One of them's the blue. What was that one?
The Errands,
Yeah, the Aaron's. And then what was the other one you said?
the Valarians.
Yeah, Valarians. And then it's got the other two squares, which are diagonal to each other, are the red dragon on black background. I'm not really sure what's up with that.
Huh.
But anyway, that's the only thing I could find banner wise.
Well, I don't remember the description, but it's in this chapter.
Yeah.
Um, um, I did just want to point out in the Dragon Seed stuff, we didn't get Silver Dennis in the show. I think some people said that, that might have been him, was the first guy that stepped up.
Right. That's yeah, I
Um,
wondered.
but his is just extra funny because this is the only one where like another dragon gets involved too.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, just him and his sons all getting taken out.
Mhm.
Pretty brutal.
Oops.
And then also, um, the dragon riders are the same book and show except for Nettles. We think that'll be replaced by Rayla most likely.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
it makes the most sense. We're doing this redemption arc thing. it would make sense for her to have a little, or for Damon to have more of a redemption arc by finally having a relationship with his daughter because she has been largely invisible to him, and I
Right.
feel like
Yep.
they made a point to show that.
Yep.
So,
Yeah, I agree.
but um, Adam gets sea smoke and Alan tries for sheep stealer. Yeah, tries for
Yes.
sheep
Yep.
stealer. And yeah, it
Comes
doesn't
out of the
work out for
cave
him.
burning.
Yeah. Which is better, I almost think. I feel like it's better that one of these guys is gonna be, the master of the tides,
Yeah, I liked the way they did.
or Lord of the Tides,
Yeah,
master
I
of
like the
ships.
way they did it in the show, where it's like he's doing his thing. He's of salt and sea.
Yeah.
I am of salt and sea, and I shave my head every morning.
Every morn, my lord.
You're not my dad, my lord.
If it please, my lord, get fucked. Okay.
Oh
Do
my.
you have anything else from the chapter? Because that's where we pretty much hard cut off
That's
because
yeah, it's
the
really about
very
it,
next
man.
thing in the chapter is we start getting into the Battle of the Gullet. So,
Yeah. Yep. Here's to hoping that that's how they start out season two is just bang right in the gullet.
dude, I'm hoping that it is. I hope it starts like what was that, episode 2 or 3 of season 1, where it just starts like in the middle of the um well,
Stepstones.
yeah, it starts like as that night attack is happening.
Mm. Yep. I agree. Yeah, I agree.
I'm picturing
Just
like
go for it.
black
Just do it.
screen and you can hear like the sound of, yeah, stuff
Ching
blowing up, people
ching.
screaming, and then all of a sudden it's
My
just
leg.
poof, like
My leg.
over, yeah, a bunch of ships burning,
Yeah.
dragons flying.
I want to hear the SpongeBob guy in the background. My leg. My leg.
My leg.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I think I'm with you. I think that's how they need to do it. Listen to us, HBO.
Hear our
We are the
voice.
fans. Hear our voice. Remember it. Write it down in crayon or in blood. However you need to. Just remember it.
Well, I think that is going to be it. Like I said in the next episode, we're going to be stopping our coverage of Fire and Blood until next season picks up. We might go back and just, there might do a whole episode that's just about some dragon stuff, or some stuff that we can pull from
Just
some
talking
other
dragons.
sources,
You know.
stuff from Fire and Blood, that wasn't a part of our chapter by chapter, or really focus in on something. But the next big thing that we're going to be covering is A Knight of the Seven Kingdoms and the Hedge Knight, the Sworn Sword, and the Mystery Knight. So I'm thinking probably 2 or 3 parts for each one of those, so we can really get in depth there and um, get it covered well.
Getting there nice and deep like.
Yeah, but that's the next big thing on the horizon. Like I said, I'll be putting together an episode on the first Blackfire Rebellion. Um, and then, make sure you guys leave a comment on any other big topics like that that you'd like to see us cover. And now I'm going to send it over to Curtis for the outro.
Yes. Let us talk about some things, Josh. Some information. Some valuable information. Make sure to follow us on Twitter at @IsSurvivedByPro for news and the latest episode postings. But wait, Josh, there's more shows than just this one right here. What? That's right. Along with the Throne of the Dragon podcast, we also have the History of the Cores podcast, where Josh and I sit down together, much like this, with different backgrounds. And we talk about a band from the core genre. We go through the history, the member changes, sometimes endless member changes, and the discography, breaking it down album by album. And then following that, we have the History of the Core's After Hours podcast, where I sit down with my good friend and avid listener to the History of the Core's podcast, Eric, and we go back through some of the bands me and Josh have already discussed, kind of more in a interview setting. So yeah, chilled out interview setting. And then we also have the OG of this production company, the Red Right Hand podcast, which has covered all 6 seasons of, I almost said HBO, but it's not. It's Netflix / BBC hit show, The Peaky Blinders. And hey, they're going to start working on a movie soon. Okay. So we have that to look forward to also. Hopefully, we'll be getting some episodes out here on some production information and such on the movie. So be on the lookout for that. Also, while you're on Twitter, you need to make sure that you are following my co-host at Joshua Lynn Gary. It's right there below him. Right there. He's not looking at it, but okay. I thought he was going to look at it, but all right.
Oh, there
it's
it
right
is.
there. Make sure to leave us a 5-star review and write us a comment on whatever podcast service you're using. And you know what? And if you want to listen to us and see our smiling faces and our cool backgrounds and our hand gestures, because we talk with our hands a lot, you know, just head on over to our YouTube page. Just search is Survived by Productions, and that'll have every episode from all of our shows. Subscribe to the channel, thumbs up the video. Josh, what do we always like to say at the end of this podcast?
That we'll see you guys next time, and if you think this has a happy ending, you haven't been paying attention.